Have you ever wondered what Mafia 3 would be like with it not having a bad performance? Didn't have any glitches or boring races. A place where Joe Barbaro's fate was still yet to be revealed. Marcano's did not exist at all. And maybe Don Scarpa was a name that be feared. Let's have a look. But before getting any of that, I want to go all the way back to Mafia 1 and see where they went wrong. So, Mafia 1 was created by Illusion Softworks, which was later acquired by 2K and became 2K Czech. The directors were Daniel Vavra, and also he was the writer. So, Mafia 1 was obviously when Tommy Angelo joined the Salieri family, worked for them, and met his fate along with the Salieri family, which had a gripping story. All the missions were just amazing. It had a good open world as well. It was kind of realistic for its time. So, into Mafia 2. So, like again, 2K Czech. That's basically Illusion Softworks. Where Daniel Vavra was also the writer and the director for Mafia 2. And Mafia 2 told us the story of Vito Scaletta and him rising into the ranks of the Falcone family and helping around Empire Bay, which had a big twist towards the end of the game where they killed Tommy Angelo, and obviously left on a cliffhanger at the end for it to be told, another story to be told into Mafia 3. Until Hangar 13 took over the Mafia franchise. Well, before that the writers left to go and do different things, so Daniel Vavra was not part of the project, so the story was not told in his kind of perspective or his view. So it wasn't like the proper Mafia 3 ending, or maybe the continuation of Mafia 2, where we would be introduced into old characters and stuff. So today I'm going to show you where it could have went in his kind of view. So where, if he stayed onto the Mafia franchise, where Mafia 3 would be right now. And it could possibly have a fourth game coming. So let's have a look into it. So I reached out to Daniel on Twitter. Question: if you had stayed attached to the Mafia series, where would you have taken the story's direction? I'm quite intrigued. And I wasn't actually expecting a response, but I did get one. So he replied, same period, Italian mob, lots of interesting events like Cuba, JFK, and Appalachian meeting. So let's have a look at them words for a second and break them down. Same period, meaning 1951 to kind of 1963 during the events. So during the 1950s, the Korean War was going on, so on the radio we would be having like the Korean War like updates of what's the war's going on like. So it started in Joe's Adventures, but we didn't really get like many broadcasts, so I know what it's about. So next is the music. Well, we kind of did get most of the music from 1955 onwards in Mafia 2, because there wasn't really rock and roll in the early 1950s where Mafia 2 was set. So we would have been looking at the same kind of music, new songs like Elvis and stuff, like kind of all that genre. We could have been getting some introduced into some 1960s music if there was a 1960 era part of the game, which I'm expecting there would be. So there would have been some early 1960s music going on. And next would be the like appliances like colored TV and different kinds of styled cars and houses and stuff. So Cuba is the next subject, which would be 1951 and 1959 part of the game. So if you all didn't know how the mob went into the casinos in Havana, all the mob had a meeting in 1946 where they would orchestrate how they were going to take over Cuba, basically putting their monies into the casinos and making a lot of money. So this is the part of the game that I was quite interested about, seeing as Mafia 3, well, the alternate Mafia 3 would have seen us as a Italian Mafia member during this kind of period where we would be going to Cuba and investing in these casinos, and there could have been like a strong arm kind of Cuban gang trying to like keep us from taking over, seeing as we're muscling in and stuff. But obviously in real life the mob went over and they started buying in the casinos and they started making a lot of money for it. But in 1959, when Fidel Castro took over Cuba, they lost all the money and lost all the casinos because they were seized into Castro's regime, and that was probably one of the reasons why the mob started to have a downfall and became disorganized. So that would be quite interesting to see as well, seeing as we had the Vinci family, we had the Salieri family, all them starting to go into a downfall and starting to lose influence in the Empire being Lost Heaven. And it would be quite interesting to see as like a soldier kind of point, because obviously you see the bosses like starting to not get the respect that they deserve and stuff. So next is the I struggle to say this, Appalachian meeting. This is the far best kind of idea for the alternate Mafia 3. So 1957 to 1959, there was a big meeting in New York of like over 100 members of the Mafia came to one house and had a meeting, and there were most of the bosses across the country, and obviously the police were watching and they raided the whole house and arrested over 100 members in the Mafia. So in Mafia 3's kind of point, this would have been the Salieri family, this would have been the Vinci family, this would have been maybe the Scarpa or the Falcone family, this could have been the other families that just we haven't heard of before, and it could have possibly been like real Mafia bosses as well. And 3 major heads were arrested, 3 major heads of the families, and one of them is based, well, Frank Vinci is based on one of them, which would be the one on the left. So that could have been Frank Vinci being arrested if this was Mafia 3, along with Leo Galante, and we could have possibly been seeing Vito having his second time in prison as well, which would have took us straight up to 1961, and where the game would have ended, like kind of in that era, 1961, 1963. That would have taken us straight on to JFK. So this was only touched a little bit on the actual Mafia 3 of the conspiracy of the Mafia plotting to kill John F. Kennedy and had him killed because of Robert Kennedy's influence in trying to take down the Mafia. And Carlos Marcello, who is Sal Marcano was based on, who was the Louisiana mob boss, wanted John F. Kennedy dead because he wanted to get at Robert Kennedy for trying to take him down and having all these Senate meetings and trying to put him in prison for the rest of his life. And also because he took down Jimmy Hoffa, who was part of the Teamsters Union, but I'm getting away from the story here. Anyway, so in our alternate Mafia 3, we could have had all the families agree that they wanted John F. Kennedy dead for obviously Robert Kennedy for putting them in prison. They want revenge, and obviously we're the guys that would be helping the assassins do it. Which would be kind of controversial, to be honest. So I don't think we'd go that far to actually kill them, which would be I don't know how I feel about that, because I'm not really from the United States. I wouldn't be bothered with killing John F. Kennedy, but that would be some game. Let me tell you that. But we would delve into the conspiracy of having him killed, the mob. So we would have obviously be supplying the free shooters with the snipers and stuff. So in conclusion, I think Mafia 3, in Daniel Vavra's kind of view, would have been absolutely amazing. I think it could have been possibly better than the Mafia 3 we've got now, because we would have been seeing old characters from Mafia 2, we could have been seeing more complex kind of relationships with Vito. He could be having a kid or something by the time of Mafia 2, from Mafia 2 to Mafia 3. It's just something... Daniel Vavra had something that the Hangar 13 didn't have. Like, he actually cared for the characters and had the backstories told, which Hangar 13 didn't really do, because we didn't really know much about the characters, let's be honest. We only had the pause menus, little character descriptions about the history. We weren't shown their history. It's just, I think the Mafia 3 was underperforming, and the 2K check people from like 2008, 2010 would have done a better job than Hangar 13. And I think all the events that he mentioned were quite interesting and would have actually fitted together. Like, you saw it, the timeline perfectly fit. We had the Cubans from 1951 to 1959. We had the Appalachian meeting from 1957 to 1959. So that would have been the mob depleting all the way down to when they got out in 1961 and 1963 and wanted the revenge against the people that put them in prison the first time. So yeah, it would be quite interesting. And the fact that it would actually be Mafia, it would be a Mafia we were in, we would have been in the Italian Mafia. It's quite strange that we don't know which one though. We could have been a new family, we could have been in the Vinci family, could have been actually in the Salieri family again. But who knows, this is like something that never happened, so this is like all in an alternate universe somewhere. So I thought I'd bring that to your attention. Like and subscribe to some more, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.